Remember when you could have any song by any artist at any time? For free? When your computer became a record store bigger than Tower Records, bigger than Sam Goody, bigger than anything that had ever existed? I remember this. You probably do too. It was 1999. You were sitting at your computer, typing in the name of that song you heard on the radio but could never find in stores. And there it was. Perfect quality. Instant download. No questions asked. That was Napster. And for a brief, incredible moment, it felt like the future had arrived. All the world's music, right there on your desktop. Until one day, it wasn't. The servers went quiet. The downloads stopped. And 80 million people discovered that the future, sometimes, gets taken away as quickly as it arrives. So what happened to Napster? It started in a dorm room at Northeastern University. January 1999. 18-year-old Shawn Fanning was frustrated. He wanted to share music with his friends, but email attachments were too small and file transfer was too complicated. So he did what any computer science student would do. He built something better. Fanning combined 3 existing technologies: MP3 compression, which made music files small enough to share; IRC chat protocols, which let people talk to each other online; and basic file sharing, which let computers swap files directly. Nobody had ever put these 3 pieces together. The result was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of downloading music from a central server, users downloaded directly from each other's computers. Your computer became both a record store and a customer simultaneously. Next week, I have another story for you that I think you are going to find just as fascinating. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Fanning called it Napster after his high school nickname for his frizzy hair. The first version was crude. Basic search, simple downloads, no fancy interface. But it worked. Within weeks, Fanning's friends were sharing the software. Within months, it had spread across college campuses like wildfire. This was not just another college project. This was the birth of peer-to-peer networking. The moment the internet stopped being about websites and started being about people sharing with people. What nobody realized at the time was that Fanning had just created the most disruptive force the music industry had ever faced. He had made every computer a pirate ship, and he had given that ship to everyone. The numbers were staggering. By February 2001, Napster had 80 million registered users worldwide. To put that in perspective, it took the telephone 75 years to reach 50 million users. Radio took 38 years. Television took 13 years. Napster did it in under 2 years. At peak usage, the service facilitated the sharing of over 25 million songs daily. Users were downloading music at a rate that equaled the entire annual CD sales volume every 28 days. Think about that. Every month, Napster users downloaded as much music as the entire recording industry sold in a year. College campuses saw their internet traffic increase by 300 to 400%. Students kept their computers running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sharing massive music libraries. MIT, Yale, and dozens of other universities had to restrict or ban the service to prevent their internet infrastructure from collapsing. Napster traffic accounted for 40 to 60% of their total bandwidth usage. Dorm rooms became mini record stores. Students with fast connections and large music collections gained social status. The kid with 10,000 songs was suddenly the most popular person on the floor. The technology was brilliant in its simplicity. The more people who joined the network, the faster and more robust it became. This was the opposite of traditional client-server models, where more users meant slower service. With Napster, growth made the system stronger. Each new user brought their music library to the collective. The selection grew exponentially. Rare B-sides, live recordings, international releases that had never been available in American stores. It was a music lover's paradise. And it was completely free. The recording industry watched their world collapse in real time. CD sales, which had reached $13.2 billion in 2000, began to plummet. Record executives who had spent decades building a distribution empire suddenly faced a competitor that needed no factories, no warehouses, no trucks, no retail stores. Just college kids with fast internet connections. But it was one specific moment that turned corporate concern into corporate fury. April 13th, 2000. Metallica discovered that their unreleased song, I Disappear, was being shared on Napster before its official release. The track was supposed to debut in the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack. Instead, it appeared on Napster first. Fans were downloading it faster than radio could play it. Drummer Lars Ulrich was furious. This was not just piracy anymore. This was theft of unreleased material. Metallica filed a lawsuit against Napster, and Ulrich decided to make a statement. He personally compiled a list of 335,000 Napster usernames who had downloaded Metallica songs. Then he drove to Napster's San Mateo headquarters and hand-delivered boxes of printed usernames, demanding their removal from the service. The image was perfect for television. One of metal's biggest stars, walking into a tech company's offices with boxes of evidence, demanding justice. It crystallized the battle between old media and new technology. Artists versus innovation. Property rights versus information freedom. The lawsuit split the music community down the middle. Some artists supported Napster, seeing it as a way to reach new audiences. Others joined Metallica's crusade, viewing file sharing as theft of their livelihood. The Recording Industry Association of America estimated that Napster and similar services would cost the music industry $15 billion in lost revenue between 1999 and 2003. Record stores began closing. Tower Records, Sam Goody, countless independent shops watched their customers disappear into cyberspace. The industry's response was litigation, not innovation. A decision that would prove catastrophic in the long run. Do you remember Napster? What's your memory? On February 12, 2001, the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit delivered its verdict in A&M Records versus Napster. The court ruled against the file-sharing service, finding that Napster had to prevent users from sharing copyrighted material or face shutdown. The decision rejected Napster's fair use defense and found them liable for contributory copyright infringement. But here is the impossible part. The court essentially ordered Napster to police 80 million users in real time, to scan every file transfer, identify copyrighted material, and block it before it completed. With 1999 technology. It was like asking a nightclub bouncer to check the ID of every person in Times Square, simultaneously, while blindfolded. Napster tried. They implemented a filtering system that blocked files based on file name matches. By July 2001, the system was blocking 99.4% of copyrighted files. But it also blocked legitimate files and created a frustrating user experience. A user could not share a song called Yesterday, even if it was their own original composition. The system that once provided instant access to any song became a broken, inconsistent mess. Daily active users dropped from 1.57 million to 500,000 within 6 months. The magic was gone. Users quickly migrated to alternatives like Kazaa and Morpheus, services designed to be lawsuit-proof through decentralization. These new platforms learned from Napster's legal vulnerability. They operated without central servers, making them nearly impossible to shut down. The genie was out of the bottle. Meanwhile, Napster was burning through money at an alarming rate. Legal costs consumed tens of millions of dollars. The company had raised over $85 million in venture capital, but most of it went to lawyers instead of product development. Sean Parker, Napster's charismatic co-founder and first president, was forced out in 2000 after being arrested on suspicion of marijuana possession. He was 20 years old and owned 7% of the company when he left. That stake would have been worth hundreds of millions if Napster had survived. His departure removed one of the company's most strategic thinkers just when they needed leadership most. June 3, 2002. Napster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company that had revolutionized how people discovered and shared music listed assets of $7.9 million and debts of $101 million. The bankruptcy filing was anticlimactic. No dramatic shutdown announcement. No farewell message to users. The service simply stopped working. Servers went quiet. Downloads failed. Search results returned empty. 80 million users logged in to find nothing. The last Napster employee to leave the San Mateo offices later described the scene. Empty pizza boxes scattered around conference rooms where all-night coding sessions used to happen. Whiteboards still covered with diagrams for features that would never be built. A company refrigerator stocked with energy drinks that nobody would drink. In November 2002, the Napster brand was sold to Roxio for $5 million. $5 million. For a company that had once been valued at several billion dollars. For a service that had fundamentally changed how an entire generation thought about music. The new owners tried to launch a legitimate subscription service using the Napster name. It failed. The brand was sold again to Best Buy in 2008 for $121 million. That version failed too. In 2011, Rhapsody bought it for $35 million and tried once more. The Napster brand became a corporate hot potato, passed from owner to owner, each hoping to capitalize on the name recognition while operating a completely different business model. None succeeded in recapturing the cultural lightning that made the original Napster revolutionary. On January 1st, 2026, the final Napster streaming service was shut down, ending a 27-year journey from revolutionary file-sharing platform to forgotten streaming also ran. The shutdown notice was a single paragraph on a website most people had forgotten existed. No fanfare, no retrospectives. Just a quiet end to what had once been the fastest-growing software application in internet history. Here is what nobody talks about. Napster was right. Not about the legal issues, not about copyright, but about what people wanted. Unlimited access to music libraries, not ownership of individual albums. Instant discovery of new artists. The ability to hear any song, anytime, anywhere. 1 year after Napster's bankruptcy, Apple launched the iTunes Store. 200,000 songs at 99 cents each. Within its first week, iTunes sold 1 million songs, proving there was a legitimate market for digital music purchases when the user experience was simple and the price was right. Steve Jobs had studied Napster's collapse and learned the lesson the recording industry missed. Consumers would pay for digital music if the experience was better than free file sharing. By 2016, music streaming services generated more revenue than CD sales for the first time in history. $7.7 billion compared to $1.8 billion for physical sales. Spotify, Apple Music, and others had essentially implemented Napster's original vision. Unlimited access to millions of songs for a monthly fee, but with artist compensation built in. The streaming model proved that Napster was right about consumer behavior, but wrong about the business model. And that is the pattern I keep seeing. Whether it is a company, a city, or an invention, the same forces that create something remarkable are often the same forces that destroy it. Napster introduced an entire generation to the concept that all music should be instantly accessible. Surveys show that users who came of age during the Napster era remain significantly more price-sensitive about music purchases than older or younger demographics. The psychological shift was permanent. Could Napster have survived? Honestly, I think so. But it would have required the one thing their leadership refused to do until it was too late. Work with the music industry instead of against it. The signs were there. They always are. When you have watched enough companies fade, you start to recognize the moment the music stops. For Napster, that moment came when 80 million users discovered that even the most revolutionary technology means nothing without a sustainable business model. And that is the part that still gets me. All those dorm room discoveries, all those late-night downloads, all that musical possibility, gone because nobody figured out how to make it work for everyone. But the dream lived on. Every time you open Spotify, every time you discover a new artist on Apple Music, every time you have instant access to virtually any song ever recorded, you are living in the world that Napster imagined. They just did not get to stay around to see it. What do you think? Could Napster have found a way to work with the music industry? Or was the collision inevitable? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more episodes of What Happened To. I have got plenty more tales of American businesses that changed the world, then disappeared. Until next time, this has been Arthur Lee. Remember, this video is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research.